So we just started discussing this statement from Rabbi Rashi Amarav that the shiurim, chatzitz, and mechitzon are all halacha Moshe Sinai. We asked the question, well, how could you say it's halacha Moshe Sinai? We quoted the pasuk of the Zayin Minim, and with Chita we said, and all the Zayin Minim were there for the express purpose of teaching us specific shiurim. So it seems like it comes from the Torah. And we started with Chita, where the wheat comes, that is written in the Torah, so that we know that the shear of entering into the house and staying long enough is the amount that you would eat half of a loaf. What kind of bread? Wheat bread. So there you have the wheat specifically, and it's got to be in a way that you would eat it quickly. So, which is reclining, where you eat it quicker, as we ended the shir yesterday. We said, and also with some kind of a dip or whatever. It also makes it more edible and it goes down quicker. So that covers pas. That covers chita. 3 lines from the bottom on Daled and Aleph. Sa'ira. What about barley? The Tanan etzem kisora. Mitama magu masa, a bone the size of a barley bean, or barley, not a bean, whatever. A kernel, thank you. Mitama magu masa, that has the shear to contaminate with touch, if it's of a dead person, the bone of that size. Veinu tamboel, but it does not have the shear to ultimate tamaboel. So you see, there are things that if you're in the same room as that corpse, that will render you tamei and everything else in the room tamei. But if it's smaller, then it will render you tamei only with direct touch or with carrying, mago masa, with touching or with carrying, but not. What is that shear? That's saora. There you have saora. Geffen, that's number 3 in the pasuk. Kedei revius yayin lenazir. What's the amount that a nazir has to drink in order to prohibit to transgress the prohibition of a nazir drinking wine? That is a revius. So here it's the substance as opposed to the measurement. Tosafot has a whole different approach, but again, Rashi Rashi is certainly good enough for us, so we're going to go with Rashi. Let's just finish the Rashis on this page as we turn the page. So we've got 2 lines from the bottom, Vedam Tama Ba'oel, Shum etzem beloy basar. Okay, any bone without any flesh on it will not be able to mitama ba'oel. Adshe sham shedra shleimus is a whole spine there, or gulgolos, or a skull, or rov binyono, or the majority of the structure. Bei shukayim v'erech achas, 2 shanks and 1 thigh, or rov binyono kuf chav hey avarim, or the majority of his physical structure, which would be 125 of the 248 different avarim. So you've got a lot of different ways to get to that point of that corpse being able to mitama ba'oel. But certainly in etzem will not do it. A little bone will not do it, but etzem kisara will be enough to contaminate b'maga u'masa, with touching, with carrying. So you see again. So we've got that covered. Revius yayin lenazir. Last Rashi on the page. L'chayva malchus, to net the nazir malchus for drinking wine against the rules of the Torah. Once you become a nazir, wine is prohibited. So that's 3 down, 4 to go as far as the different shurim of the Zayin Minim. Teina figs kigrogos l'tzor Shabbos. That covers the rules of what you have to carry, the size of a fig for carrying on Shabbos. We learned all about that on Shabbos. In Shabbos. Remind, what about the pomegranate? Kedetanan, kol, clay, balabatim, shiron, krimonim. If it's a regular vessel of a balabas, not of a fancy artisan, but it's a kli of a balabas. And according to him, for balabatim, when does the kli lose its status as a functioning kli, which would no longer render it able to become tamei? Okay, is when the size of the hole is the size of a rimon. Right, bigger than a rimon already, because any hole smaller, you can always put a rimon and it won't fall out. So at least you can use it for something. But when it gets to the size of rimon, that's it. You're not going to use it for anything else. A pomegranate is pretty big. So that takes care of the rimon. Okay. What about Eretz Zeis Shemen? Okay, it's a land flowing oil, the olive oil, referring of course to olives. Eretz, we learn that from that pasuk. Eretz shekol shireha kazesim. All the shiurim that we have throughout the Torah, when it comes to food, anything along those lines, of what you have to eat in order to render you obligated, or how much you have to eat, let's say, for matzah, all these things, all of the shiurim are kazayis. Really? Kol shirah salkadaita? Can you really think that we're referring to all of the shiurim are kazayis? Vikahani damar. We just said a whole bunch of different things that are not shir of the kazayis. What do you mean all the shiurim are kazayis? Elaima eretz sharov shirah kazayis. Now what the pasuk means, it's a land that the majority of, that's why it's introduced the words eretz zeh shemen udvash. So it's the land that the majority, not every, we just mean the majority of the shurim are with kazayis. So that covers the olives. Dvash, which we know are dates. It's date honey. Okay, we call it honey, but it's coming from dates. Dvash kusev azagasa. Yom Kippurim. The shir for how much you have to eat to have transgressed the prohibition of eating on Yom Kippur is not a kazayis as one would have thought, but rather it's actually a bigger share of kusev azagasa. It's a large date. So that takes care of all of the 7 shurim. But how in the world can you tell me that the shurim are halacha Moshe Sinai when you see all of these shurim being derived from a pasuk in the Torah? It seems like they have a din of conventional deraisa as opposed to halacha Moshe Sinai. Not that there's such a big difference, but how can you make such a statement when it seems like it's totally not true? It's rooted in the Torah. Let's catch up on the Rashis here. Grogos. It's a dried fig. And it's in that measure of the dried fig that we measure all of what a man would eat, in that size regarding carrying on Shabbos. The Tana motzi ochlin kegorgos. If you carry food, as you mentioned, a lot of different subjective aspects of what it is that's choshev in any area of carrying. So it's not like there's one shear all the way across the board. It could be smaller or it could be larger depending on the item that you're carrying. But when it comes to food, carrying food, the typical shear of a choshev amount to render you chayiv for carrying would be the shear of a te'ena. Okay, next one. Balabais, continuing Rashi. Balabais chas al kelev. A balabais is obviously very, concerned and sensitive about his possessions, not to throw things out indiscriminately. V'mnikev kamotzi zayis, right? And if he has a keli that has a hole the size of a zayis, you might not pour coffee in that keli. However, matzia legozim, but it's going to be good for walnuts. You can put walnuts in there, and it won't come out because the hole is small enough to hold the nuts. Kegos matzia rimonim, and if you got the hole the size of an egos, you'll hold it and keep it, so you can put rimonim in there. Lefikach nitma. Therefore, if it became tamei v'nikev and it then got a hole, adayin tamei, it's still tamei. It still retained its status of tuma ad shinakev kamotzi rimon, until the hole that it has is the size of a rimon. V'hainu shurin krimonim, and that's where you have the shear of like rimonim, which is one of the fruits mentioned in the Torah. Avakle umen ha'imei limocher tor b'nekav cotton, but a artisan's keli that is up for sale, that's not going to be sold even if it has a smaller hole, a much smaller hole. So that's why the reference is kol kli balabatim. Balabos's attitude about the keli is very different than a professional's attitude about the kelim that he produces. Okay, what about the zayis, the olive? Rov shar b'zeisim. The majority achilas chelev v'dam. Rashi says the prohibition of eating prohibited fat and the blood of an animal. V'neiser, leftover carbonas, pigul, the wrong thought process in the carbon. The v'tamei is something that's tamei which cannot be eaten, the carbon, unavela, and the dead carcass of an animal, ubehemet tameya, and a non-kosher animal, b'atzer mace, la'ahel, and the flesh of a mace for the laws of ohel, umagin velos, and touching the veils of how much you have to touch to become tamei. How big is that piece of corpse? Kol dvash, okay, that takes care of zaysim. So almost all of the shurim that we have, that we're familiar with in the Torah of prohibited eating and many other things along those lines, this year is kazayis. So we said we don't mean all, but we mean the majority. That's why it's eretz zay shemen. Okay, and finally, kol dvash amen b'Torah dvash tamarim. Every time you see the word dvash in the Torah, it's referring not to the typical, beehive honey, but to the date honey. Good Omar Hasam, Ein Maviyim Bikurim Kiyim Mizayin Aminim. Okay, you have to bring Bikurim from the 7 fruits and the 7 species that the land has been blessed with. V'loi mitmarim shebaharim, v'loi mipeir shebamokim. You can't bring from dates from the mountains and not fruit from the valleys. Am pshita leilatana, the tamarim Mizayin Aminim danavash. So clearly we see that tamarim is from the 7 minim. Otherwise, there's no way you can bring bikurim from tamarim if tamarim is not one of the zayin minim. Where are dates as part of the zayin minim? Teretz is davash is referring to tamarim. So dates are in. Okay, fine. So we're left with this kasha right now. How in the world can you say it's a halacha Moshe Sinai when you see it's all rooted in the Torah? To which the Gemara answers back to the Gemara. Tizbra, Shurun, Michtav, Ksivi. What? I mean, the fact that you have a wonderful pasuk talking about the 7 special fruits of Eretz Yisrael that the land is praised with, but you think that explicitly tells you that you have to apply these shurim for those things? The Tizbra, Shurun, Michtav, Ksivi. What? They're not written. I mean, it's sort of like a loosey-goosey kind of connection. There's no direct reference that these particular fruits or grain are referring to a particular halacha. Ella, so how do you explain how we connect these things to those halachas? The exact application is halacha Moshe Sinai v'asmuchu Rabbana Akrayid. Rabbana just made an asmachta, which means it's like an allowing, like a reliance on the psukim. We find some source that sort of gives us support to say what we said, but the real source is not the Torah. The real source is halacha Moshe Sinai. It was handed down from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Moshe Rabbeinu in Har Sinai and passed on through the generations. But all of these references that we just spoke about regarding the Zayin Minim is simply, it's an asmachta. It's not the real absolute deal because we don't see any direct references. Okay, Rashi. Actually, no Rashi says. So we're done with the Rashi, ready to go weiter. Okay, so we took that takes care of Shurin. We have 2 more categories of items left that Rav said. Chatzitzin, which is a separation of when you go to the mikveh, you have a chatzitz, of a separation that the fact that it interposes between your body and the water. That's a problem. Daraisininu. So again, the Gemara wants to know. I don't understand how it's halacha Moshe Sinai. Why can't we prove that the concept of chatzitza, that there cannot be anything on your body when you go to the mikveh? That's not halacha Moshe Sinai. Why is not a deraisa? The ksiv for a chatz as kol b'sarai b'mayim. Okay, where is that pasuk? There it is. Okay, v'ish kiseitze menu shichva zera v'chatz b'mayim as kol b'sarai. So slightly different. The actual pasuk is slightly different, but the pasuk does say for a chatz b'mayim as kol b'sarai. Okay, shlo, and what do we learn from that pasuk? Shlo yedav v'chaitzes beim b'sarai l'mayim. Okay, so you see from that pasuk that you can't have anything. It's got to be your basar has got to hit the water. When you go to the mikveh to become purified from an impurity, you got to go with the with nothing separating between your body and the water, the flesh and the water. Doesn't that teach me that chatzitza is indeed deraisa? We're not done with this brisa and with this pasuk. L'mayim, l'mayim, right? That's number one. B'mayim b'mei mikveh. Okay, and b'mayim tells me it's got to be the main mikveh. And kol b'sar b'mayim tells me that you just can't go into any water. You have to go into a mikveh to purify yourself. And what kind of mikvah, what kind of gathering of water do you have to go into? Kol b'sar b'mayim shekol gufay oila behen, that your entire body can go into the water at one time. It's not, can't go into a small little bathtub where you're going to have to, enter different parts of your body at different times to get everything under the water. That's not going to work. It's got to be your entire body can be submerged into the water one time. V'kamehena, how much is that? Amo alama b'reim gimel 1 by 1 by 3. Okay, that's how much is 40 sa. V'shir chacham mikvah mem sa. And the chacham calculated that amount is 40 sa, which is a minimum shear of a mikvah. So these three halachas are derived from this pasuk. The one that really concerns us is the chatzitza concept, which is the first one. How could you say that chatzitza is halacha Moshe Sinai when you see from this pasuk that the chatzitza is derived from a pasuk in the Torah, which again, not that it's a big nafkamina, but it's just not, doesn't seem that it's true. That's not halacha Moshe Sinai. Where it says you're right, as far as the actual concept of chatzitza, that is not indeed halacha Moshe Sinai. But when we spoke about the fact that chatzitza halacha Moshe Sinai, we are referencing the hair. That also is an issue when it comes to going to the mikveh. You got to be worried about your hair not being chatzitza. In what regard? You have to, not that you have to go bald, but Rabbi Avrohom. It follows the halacha of Rabbi Avrohom. Damar Rabbi Avrohom, nima achas keshura chetzetzes. You've got one strand of hair tied into a knot. Okay, that's why women are very careful. You have to comb their hair really well, because if one of the hairs is knotted up and if it's tight, then that's going to prevent the water from reaching every part of the person's body. So, because the knot obviously covers as you make that knot, there's part of that hair that's not going to be exposed. It's going to be sort of within that knot, and that's a problem. That is a problem. So he says, "Sanima achas kshor chotzetzes." If you have one strand that's tied, it's a problem. It's a chatzitza. It's a separation. Shalosh ena chotzetzes. If it's 3 hairs already, that's not a problem because it's not going to be that tight. You can't make it that tight, so as the water shouldn't get through a little bit. And shtayim any day. 2, I'm not sure. So 2 hairs tied up is a suffix in this Amara's mind, whether it's a chatzitza or not. But one for sure is. And how do you know that hair can serve as a chatzitza? It only talks about the basa, doesn't talk about the hair. So that's the halacha Moshe Sinai that Rav was referring to. That's under the banner of chatzitza. But the Gemara says, I am not happy with that either. Sarinami deraisahu, but it's not true. Even the hair aspect of it being a chatzitza is indeed deraisa. How do I know? The Tanya says in the Brisa, rochatz es kol b'sarai. Okay, from the words rochatz es kol b'sarai, all of his flesh. Es atafel b'sarai. That word es is darshan to that which is tafel to the basar. That which is not the basar itself, but it's subservient to the flesh. What on the external part of the body is subservient to the flesh, and that's hair, right? Hair's on the body, grows on the body, and it's also included from the word es. V'zehu seir, that's hair. So I still don't understand where you need halacha Moshe Sinai for the concept of chatzitza. It's all learnt out from psukim in the Torah. So the answer is not quite. Kiyasa hilchas ruboy ulamiyuto ulamakbid ulashein makbid. So you need it for this concept of rov and miyut and makbid and ein makbid, which are the essential qualities of what will actually be a chatzitza on your body. Laws of whether it covers the majority of your body or the minority of your body, and whether you care about it, whether you don't care about it. Okay, let's do Ukei Rav Yitzchak, and this follows the famous Rav Yitzchak. This is one of the fundamental rules of what serves as a chatzitza. The Amar of Yitzchak, Rav Yitzchak says the following principle: Davar Torah rubo yamakbid alav chotzitz. Midaraisa, and I guess this is where the Gemara is answering that there's a halacha Moshe Sinai, that the rules of engagement, so to speak, when it comes to the laws of a chatzitza, is that the only thing that will serve as a separation between the body, and the water is not anything. Any little band-aid is not gonna cut it. It's not gonna really serve as a chatzitza midaraisa. Midaraisa dvar Torah rubo yamakbilov. You have to not want it there. That's to bother you that is there, and it's got to cover the majority of your body. Chotzeitz, that will interpose. V'she'ena makbid alav. If you don't care about it, even if it covers the majority of your body, but it's something that doesn't bother you, in fact you'd like it to be there, that's not called a chatzitza. You have to physically cover the majority of your body. Otherwise, we would say rov of your body is good enough. Okay, 1 second. If you're not makbid, so that's number one. If you don't care, that's not a chatzitza. And we'll see about, similarly, we'll see about the rov. It's got to be rov, and if it's miyut, it's not going to be a chatzitza. V'gazru al rubo she'ena makbid, and we made a gzeira that if it covers the majority of your body and you don't care about it, we should, right? That also will serve as a chatzitza. Why? Mishum rubai hamakbid. Because if I allow one leeway to work, then that might lead to a case where you're going to say it works even when you don't have any leeway. Okay, because in this particular case, you have rov, but you don't have makbid. But I'm afraid if I let that go through as far as a valid chatzitza, because you don't really care, you want the thing on, it's serving your body, it's helping you in any which way, you're going to say that will work because of rov, that will work, and that will lead you to make a mistake to think rov and makbid could also work as a valid tefillah. And also v'al miyuta hamakbid, and also if it covers only the minority of your body, but you don't want it there, that also will end up not being a valid chatzitz, valid tefillah, because of the fact mishum ruboy hamakbid. We're afraid that if we allow that, if you have one of the two conditions fulfilled, and we say it's a good tefillah, that might lead you to go and use the mikveh in the situation where you have neither. Conditions in terms of what you need. You need, in other words, you have neither in terms of, you need both to make it not a good tefillah. So you might say it'll be a good tefillah when you have both factors that you need, and that's rov and makbid. Okay, so basically, you need two conditions, and if you only have one, the Rabbanan came in and said one will be enough to render the tefillah invalid because of the concern that if you say that's good, you'll say it's good even when you have both conditions. The obvious, maybe not so obvious, but the question of Veligzo Nami al Miyuto Sheina Makbid. Listen, once we're in the Gzeira mood, let's go all the way. Let's make a Gzeira on the minority Chetzitza, she'ena makbid, which you don't care about, which would certainly be a band-aid, right? You want the band-aid there to protect your skin. It does not cover the majority of your body. So let's make a gzeir on that too. That should also be considered a chatzitza, mishum miyuto hamakbid. Because that will lead you to say that even if it's a minority and you don't want it there, that also might be a good tefillah, inami mishum rubo she'ena makbid, or might lead you to say that even when it's rov, as long as you don't care, it's good, right? So I can make a mistake even when I have a double negative. If I say that if the double negative is okay, I might come to say it's good even when there's only one negative, and that will ultimately lead you to say it's good when you have both conditions. So, right, why don't we just really make the fence very, very far away and say it's never good, not miyut and not eina makbid. Even if when you have both positive situations there, we should still say it's no good. To which we already, I think, intuitively have the answer. All right, we're already familiar with this concept of gzeira l'gzeira. Right, there's a limit to how far you're going to go with a gzeira. You're going to make it one step away, but you're not going to make a gzeira 2 steps away, which is exactly what the Gemara answers. Higu for gzeira. It itself, the fact that we answered a tefillah with only one of the 2 factors, that we came along and made a decree saying it's no good, that itself is a gzeira. It's a rabbinic decree. And we're now going to end up making a gzeira to that gzeira. That's a double step. In Rabbanan, we don't do double steps to Rabbanan. We don't make a double gzeira. We'll make one fence, but the fence around that fence, that far we're not going to go. And therefore, it would come at me derais. I know we don't do this with the women. We're much more makbid to avoid any issues and any small types of interpositions. But at the end of the day, the midarai, certainly even midrabanan, structurally, if you have a miyut and you're not makbid, that would be valid. Even rabbinically, that would be okay. But again, we're much more careful, in today's world. Okay, let's see the Rashis. The Mayimei mikvah, right? So we got into this whole chatzitza thing with b'mayim b'mei mikvah. It's got to be in a mikvah muchnosin that are gathered. Mashma v'avagav the lav chayim. Even though it's not live spring water, midlo ksiv chayim, right? So sometimes we learned about this earlier. And sometimes you need mayim chayim, you need like spring water that's flowing water. And the other times the message is no, it could be all gathered into one area, which is called a mikvah, as opposed to the mayon. Mayon is the flowing, the spring. This is the mikvah, which is gathered, and that's what you need when that's valid when it comes to the issue of going to the mikvah for your tumah. Kol b'sarai, Torah says all of your flesh. Mashma kol basar kechad. The indication is that it's got to be all your flesh at one time. So it's got to be enough to hold you at one time, which is a sheer 40 sah. So why do you need halacha Moshe Misina when it's directly from a pasuk? Teretz is l'saro. It's for the hair. Shetifsal bo chatzitza, that a chatzitza in your hair will also be considered chatzitza. We don't look at the hair as a complete irrelevancy because it has nothing to do with the flesh. Ukedarabba, and it follows Rabba's position. Damarabba chatzitza pasels b'seyar, that who says that if you have a chatzitza in your hair, that indeed will pasel the tefillah. Nima achas kishura chotzetzes. As he explains, if you have one strand that's tied up, it's a chatzitza. The motila duka shaper, you're able to make it very tight. V'namayim nechnasim bekesher, and the water will not enter into that knot. The hair is knotted. If the hair is knotted, if it's one hair, you got a problem. Shalosh ene chotzetzes, the loy mahad ke shaper will not really get very tight because the three, it's just too wide to really have that kind of a tightness of the knot. Shapir will not really tighten up well. V'ayli b'mayim, the water will get in. Okay, but two, he says we're not sure. So we knocked that off too, because we said the word es comes to teach me that the hair is a factor. That's also drush in the Torah. That's also not halacha Moshe Messinai. That's mamish drush in the Torah. So what in the world do I need halacha Moshe Messinai for? To which we brought in Rav Yitzchak, who laid down the fundamental rules of the kind of chatzitza that's a problem. So let's see the next Rashi. Devar Torah halacha Moshe Messinai b'Torah shebal peh. Okay, it's halacha Moshe Messinai in the oral tradition. So that's what it means. Devar Torah. It doesn't mean that it's from the Torah, but it means it has the status of a Torah law. Rubai roif saroi. The majority of your hair, shem yesh by davra chotzes, that if you have, sorry, dafka, I don't know what he says, sorry, rov sar shem yesh by davra chotzes, that if you have something that separates, you go dam, yovesh, like dried blood, udyo, or ink, vitit, or some kind of cementy thing, tit yovesh, vizefes, or pitch, vizefes yovesh, osha kosher, Okosha rubai achas, or let's say if the majority of your hair, so for some reason he's focusing on the hair, but basically if you have anything that's going to separate, like dried blood or any of these types of items that can dry up and cover the hair, or you have a bunch of your hairs, okay, that are individually knotted. Okay, so if every one of your hairs is individually knotted, that would take a special haircut to do that. But somebody did that, or somehow that happened to this person. That's going to be a problem. If the majority of your hair is knotted individually, that is going to mess you up. But not alone. You need the majority and umakberalav. Shemitztayer al lichloch zeh shebrosho. Right? You don't want that congealed junk on your hair. You don't want that pitch or that tar that's on your hair right now. So it's A, it covers the majority of your hair, and B, you don't want it. So in order for a chatzitza to be a valid chatzitza, rendering your tefillah invalid midaraisa, you need both conditions to be there. V'sheina makbid alav, have a kegufo. If you don't care, then it becomes like it's part of your body. If you have a gav, have a barov, ochayitz. It's a hard thing to imagine, but mamish, it covers the majority of your body, okay, and it's not your skin, but you don't really care, then it's okay. Because the lumdus is, it becomes bottled to your body. You're fine. You're happy that it's there, so it's all good.
Well, that's the most of the gel that they use nowadays. People put it in their hair to keep it down, put it up, whatever it is.
Okay.
And obviously it covers the hair.
And you don't mind it. You want it there.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be a good example. Okay, he says. Yeah, v'gazru al rubo. 1 second. Yeah, he says v'gazru al rubo shedamak. But we made a gzera that if it covers the majority of your body and you don't care about it, hoyel ve'verov. Since l'mais you have one of the two conditions that it covers the majority of your body, v'dami mix as a chatzitza deraisa, and it has therefore shares some quality, some similarity with a chatzitza deraisa, and also v'almuta makbid, and if it covers the minority of your body but you don't want it, right? Like that dirt and stuff that you certainly don't want there, even if it doesn't cover the majority of your body. Since it's similar to the derisive rule as in relation to the hakpada factor, v'gazru v'gazru lav halacha Moshe misinaihu el gzerim darbanan. Okay, this is not halacha Moshe Sinai. This would not be a derisive psul. It's only gzeir darbanan. The roiv hamakbid l'chudehu dev halacha Moshe Sinai. So Rashi is just saying, don't make the mistake to think that this gzeir is under the ban of halacha Moshe Sinai. The halacha Moshe Sinai is only one thing, that to make it an invalid tefillah, you need roiv and makbid. That's halacha Moshe Sinai. Everything under that is a rabbinic decree that came in after the fact. But once we're making rabbinic decrees, why do you stop only at one? When I make a gzera of the minority which you don't care about because of the minority that you do care about, the damila dadi, because they are similar, the haimid v'haimid, they both represent minority. Inami, or else nigza boy mishum rubo. Let's make a gezerah in a case of ruba sheina makbid, right? Let's be concerned that you're going to end up saying that even when it's raiv and not makbid, a dami ladadi, okay? Because also there's a similarity there. The hayina makbid, hayina makbid. You got both qualities, both scenarios, both being eno makbid. You don't care, so maybe I'm going to cross the line and say don't care miyut is the same thing as don't care rov, and that would be a very bad line to cross. To which the Gemara says it's not the worst line in the world to cross, because even if you crossed it, you're only going to end up in a D'Rabbanan Dika problem anyway. So we're now going to make it double D'Rabbanan. We don't do that. He gufik zera mishum ruba makbid kedarminon, and now we're going to make exera ligzera. No, we're not going to go that far, and therefore we're all good. Okay, but now we have the shurin covered as far as halacha Moshe Sinai. He says we now have the chatzitza covered with halacha Moshe Sinai. So now we only have one thing left, and that's mechitza. Okay, so let's now attack that. We finished all the Rashis. Back to the Gemara. Mechitza deraisa, same question. Mechitza is also deraisa. How can you tell me that a mechitza concept of a tefach structure serving as a separation, as a wall, that's halacha Moshe Sinai? It's mamish in the Torah. The Yamamar, as we learned earlier, Aron Tisha, right? So the Aron was 9 tfachim. Because what was the Aron? The Aron, the famous Aron that we speak about in the Torah, was a amma and a half. And if an amma and a half if an amma is 6 tfachim, then an amma and a half is 9 tfachim. The kaparas tefach, the covering, the beautiful covering of the Aron, was 1 tefach. Harei kanasara. So there you have 10. So this idea that the Aron was 10 tfachim high serves as a mechitza, as a separation to the heavenly abode, so to speak. Okay, so and that's what the Gemara explains, not here, but in a different place, that's why it's 10 to teach us the separation, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashemayim Shemaim L'Hashem, V'aretz Ha'san L'vnei Adam. So there's two worlds, there's the heavenly world and there's the human world, and human world is on the ground, right here. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu will come down, but not all the way below 10 Tfachim. That's why the Aron was 10 Tfachim high. So you see that the shear of a mechitza of being 10 Tfachim is indeed a deraisa dika shear based on the Aron in the Mishkan, which more answers yes and no. He says, Lo tricha ella Rabbi Yehuda. What's a little aleph? Where's the Bach? There you are. He says, Lo tricha ella Rabbi Yehuda. Right. So we don't need it but for Rabbi Yehuda. Damar amas binyan ba'ama ba'shisha. Rabbi Yehuda holds that when you talk about structural aspects of the building of the Mishkan, and we use the word Amma there, it's a 6 tefach Amma. We're familiar with this already. There's 5 tefach Amma, 6 tefach Amma. That was a 6 tefach Amma. Amas Kalim, but when you're talking about the Amas Kalim, the Amma Bash Chamisha, that's referring to a 5 tefach Amma. So if it was a 5 tefach Amma, the Aron was 7.5 tefachim. If it's 7.5 tefachim, then that's not the mechitza, because we know the sheer mechitza is 10 tefachim. Right, that's the minimum shear of a separation. That's how tall something has to be for so many different areas of halacha. We need it, and certainly for our things of in shul to have a mechitza. All these things require at least 10 tefachim to be called a wall. So, but that can't be learnt out from Rabbi Yehuda's Aron, because Rabbi Yehuda's Aron is only 7.5 tefachim. Gemara says, okay, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, you need a halacha Moshe Sinai, because you're not gonna get it from the Aron. But the obvious kashal of Meir, Domar Kol Amos Hayabenis, but according to Rav Meir, who says all Amos were conventional, regular 6 tefachim Amos, Michael Meimar, do you not need a halacha Moshe Sinai according to him? Rav Meir, Kiyos Al Good Ulavru Dofen Akuma. So according to Rav Meir, you also need a halacha Moshe Sinai. In what regards? To the famous concepts that we certainly use in Sukkah. Theoretically, we would not really recommend it to use it in actuality, but we very often do anyway, for the idea of good, the idea of extending a wall upwards, ulavid, the idea that something that's within 3 tefachim is connected. Okay, that's also halacha Moshe Sinai. Doesn't have to have solid wall all the way through. And l'dofen akuma, right? So how do you use your pool fences for a wall, as I've seen some people do, right? It's more airspace than wall. If you use lavud, if it's within 3 tefachim of each other, it's like it's all connected. And the dofen akuma, the famous bending wall situation, which also has its guidelines of only 4 amas, and not more than not the 4 amas or more. Has to be less than 4 amas. So these are all halacha Moshe Sinai's. Rashi, Aron Tisha. Okay, a few lines before the wide lines. Aron Tisha v'kabaras tefach. Aron Gova Tisha tefach. The Aron is 9 tefachim high. Diksiv yam v'chetzi kamaso. The kaparas tefach, and the covering was 1 tefach harei asara. That gets you 10. Uksiv v'dibati itcha mi ala kaparas, and the pasuk says, "I will speak to you, Moshe Rabbeinu, from the kaparas." V'tanya perkam the sukkah. Rabbi Yossi Omer. Rabbi Yossi explains, "L'olam lo yarda shechina l'mata me'asara." The shechina never comes down to this earth less than 10 tefachim. God's presence does not enter that low. The ksiv, as the pasuk says, "Shemaim Shemaim L'Hashem." We say it every halal. V'aretz Ha'san L'vnei Adam. And the ground, the land is considered under 10 tefachim. The ksiv, dibarti itcha me'ala kaparas, because I've spoken to you from on top of the kaparas. So, Alma Asara have a mechitza. So you see that 10 is a separation. That when you hit above 10, so this mechitza is not just a wall, but it also serves as sort of, I guess, a height separation as well. What's above 10 is in a different domain. We have that also in Shabbos. Above 10 tefachim is a different domain. So same thing over here. That's learned out from the pasuk. So it's not, the idea of a mechitza, of a separation being 10, is not unique to it's not Allah Moshe Sinai. It's actually a pasuk in the Torah. So but according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says Amas Binyan and Amas Hakroshev Ayrios, the beams and the curtains, that's six tefach amma. But Amas Kalim, going Amas Aram Hamizbechos Vashulchan, but the utensils and the vessels of the Mishkan were measured in a different Ba'am Bas Chamisha. They're measured in 5 tefach ammas. The Hashalon Nafkele Mi'aron Midi. You can't learn anything out Rabbi Yehuda. Lo have Aron Ba'adei Kaparis El Shmeina Tfachim U'Mechza. All it is together is 8.5 tfachim. If you add them, the two of them together, so clearly it will not be the source. And according to this pshat, we have a good source for Halacha Moshe Sinai. We're only going to ask about Rav Meir in a minute. We'll do that tomorrow. Have a good day.